Hey everyone, welcome to the next episode of Outcomes. I'm your host, Barrett King, which you've heard me say at this point, I think about 65 times, which is a lot. With me today is a super awesome guest. Her name's Sam. She's the SVP of Partnerships at a company we don't have to talk about, because what we are going to talk about is that she's like a ninja, a guru, an expert in all things Salesforce, cloud partners, and the things that we all really care about. So my friend, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much. Thrilled to be here.
I love it. And we're going to have fun. It's going to be interesting. I asked the question, that I ask everyone here, which is, what does partnerships mean to you? You had definitely one of the most unique responses I've come over to date. You said it's a single company. You can only go so far alone. Partnerships allow companies to offer a more comprehensive solution to customers by going to market faster and more efficiently with products that do more, better together or something like that. Brilliant response. I love it. Do you want to add to it, modify it? Floor is yours.
I will stand by that. I just think that is the foundation of partnerships. If you're trying to go it alone in the partner seat, you're doing it wrong.
Yes.
We'll leave it at that.
It's brilliant. Agreed. Simple, to the point, a little bit of humor. I appreciate that. And you've had obviously a bunch of experience over the course of your career, specifically around the larger partner opportunities and whatnot. What I'm curious about, what we're going to talk about today, is something we've talked about before, which is attribution. It's obviously a common topic, something that comes up quite a bit, regardless of where you're at in your partner journey in terms of sophistication. So I'm curious, let's start at the top, and what we're going to focus on being partner attribution. How do you define that? Give me your kind of broad strokes on the canvas of what that means to you.
Sure. Well, I think it is a really fuzzy subject for a lot of people. And honestly, even though I do feel like we have a pretty good handle on it, it still is a little bit fuzzy because there's a lot of things that partners and partner teams have their fingerprints all over, but some of them are a little soft, and it's not as easy as we generated this lead, or we sourced this deal, or we influenced it going over the closed one line. Sometimes things happen in rooms that you can't hear. People are talking about you. And so knowing that is really crucial, but you have to have results to deliver to your ELT, to your company, to show you're driving value. On my podcast, another friend was like, we can't hang out in feelings as a partner team.
Oh, I like that.
I feel like this is going to drive a lot of value. I feel like it's Mike Davis. He's brilliant.
Yeah.
But you can't. You have to have numbers. So, I think diving into how you really prove that value and understanding how it aligns to your overall company goals is paramount to success as a partner team.
Yeah, anchoring in data, being a student of the outcome, got to use the show title. So that's a valuable point there.
Yeah.
But I think also this idea that everything should have core data around it to validate that your feelings are real, and that obviously the outcomes you're trying to drive towards are, predictable and repeatable, and the things that are necessary in terms of actually building something, more meaningful than a one-off engagement. If I'm starting from scratch today and I'm trying to figure out, you made the comment of aligning to the company goals and whatnot, do you have a process that you've used in the past that works to define those core frameworks and how you think about attribution overall?
100%. Yeah. And when I took over here, so my biggest partner is Salesforce. And first of all, if you're using a software like Crossbeam or Reveal, they're awesome and they're great for account mapping. But if you're playing in the big ecosystems, they typically are not on those account mapping softwares. So you do have to get a little scrappy. So really, within the Salesforce ecosystem, my process when I started looked like, okay, I meet with this AE, I write down his name in my notebook, and I write down the 5 accounts that he owns. And then I have to remember 6 months from now to follow up with him. And then, as we can guess, that's not scalable.
Super scalable. Are you kidding me? That's like everything is on a piece of paper somewhere. That's fine.
Which page did I write that on?
I love it.
So we built a process within our own Salesforce system to track this. And it's really helped to prove out some leading indicators. We also expanded the team. Alex Dayton is on my team. He's phenomenal. But basically, it's a partner relationship in Salesforce. So we're now tracking Salesforce AEs, which accounts they own, how mature they are, meaning how engaged they are with PFL, if they've given us intros or they just found out about us.
That's brilliant.
And then we have a whole marketing side of the partner team that has a funnel marketing towards Salesforce sellers.
Are you scoring them then? Actually, that's interesting. So are you you said you're kind of rating them in that sense. Are you actually tagging them with some sort of a score that you can then sort by later on?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. That's interesting.
And when we get a new a new partner relationship, so a new contact with Salesforce, whether it's via they joined a lunch and learn, or we met them at a conference, or they straight up, I heard about you, here's an intro. Those all fall into different categories. And then the other thing within the ecosystem that's really crucial is industry, making things super relevant to these sellers. So we are a horizontal partner, but they don't care. How does that influence their vertical of healthcare and their customers within the healthcare system? So not only do we know who we're talking to, but we know how engaged they are, what industry they're at, and hopefully what accounts they own, so we can be hyper targeted in our outreach.
That's super interesting. So then you're focused on specifically mapping all of the relationships that you have through Salesforce in this example. And then do you have some sort of a cumulative value in terms of influenced revenue across the partnership that you look at as a driver? And then what? And then you break it down by industry? How are you segmenting that data?
Yeah. So those are all great questions, and we're working to segment more and more.
Sure.
The way we're looking at this now is, so we still have influenced and sourced as our number one metrics. That's what the business looks at on if we're successful or not. So really, is this driving that forward? Year to date, 40% of close one revenue has a partner attached. And now, because we have this information, we can go back to which sellers are the most involved with that. And the other beautiful part of this is now I have that information to go back to, say, an RVP at Salesforce and say, hey, this seller on your team is having great success. Let's get the rest of them involved. Why aren't they doing this more and more? So it's a network effect, and it gradually snowballs into more and more.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I was just going to ask the question of how are you then monetizing, if you will, this insight, this data. So you're going to the RVP and saying, this is working, this is not. Are you leveraging then, like I've experienced this. I was a channel manager at one point in my career and thought very similarly to what you're describing. Is there an opportunity then to lean into the network I agree with, but also like the sort of cross collaboration, the cross sales opportunity in trying to then directly influence your best sellers, your best collaborators to be your evangelist? I have to imagine there's that major opportunity as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. So putting them up on a pedestal, we have a Slack channel with all of our joint relationships. It's like, hey, this AE just sold a great deal, and it's because of this partnership. And, helping them have all the resources they need to tell that story, making sure we are very loud about our wins, both with them, with their team, with their leaders. Because if we're making people look good and we're making them better at their job, making their job easier, they're going to do more business with us.
Yeah. That's huge. And then so as you think about mapping this across that's the front line, are you doing the same thing then with the CS org and leaning into folks that are supporting the customers as well, or just a pure offensive play right now?
So it is purely offensive right now, but that's definitely our next step for sure.
Yeah.
We are expanding into like our CS team and how we can expand accounts. We're already doing that. And we have a customer list. The beautiful thing about Salesforce is that's already mapped. If you have a joint customer with them, they give you a spreadsheet that's like, here's the AE. If you need anything, let them know.
Yeah.
Smart. And so we already have those relationships, but certainly nurturing them more and more is never a bad thing.
And then, but you've got like tens of, if not hundreds of customers, I'd assume. So how are you doing this at scale across all of them when you've got multiple AEs and, multiple POCs and whatnot? Because what I'm thinking about, just to clarify my question, is when you talk about attribution, it's for yourself. Is this worthwhile? Are we winning? Where are we getting our best leverage and reach? But it's also, I would imagine, back in return to the partner, to Salesforce in this example, and saying like, we're seeing this success as well, the cumulative value I mentioned before. So how much of this is just like a scale problem right now as you try and write on the piece of paper that you were describing versus like it's really systems architecture and we're actually pretty good at it at this point?
Yeah, so it's both. I mean, honestly, Salesforce, I showed them this and they were like, wow, all of our partners need this because everybody's struggling with the same deal.
Yeah, that's what I was picturing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a problem people are feeling across the board, and it's not a new problem. I mean, we went from G Sheets to Crossbeam Reveal. Salesforce and the big ones they're large organizations, so signing on with that is hard. But we are showing, it's like, okay, the other part of this is we're showing leading indicators. If we have X amount of touches with an AE, or if an AE is in pipe with us for this long. This is how long an intro takes. And then, we're trying to systemize the partner motion so we can forecast a pipeline. And then we hand that to sales and we have an average close time. And so then we can forecast to Salesforce more accurately of here's what you can expect from us. Here's what's on the line. Hold us accountable. Let's actually talk about this pipeline and these deals rather than, again, hang out in feelings.
Yeah, I like that. It's the control thing, right? I mean, I love that you feel good about it, but how do we get down to brass tacks in terms of whether the deal will close, the client will move forward, the renewal, everything else? That's interesting.